Hello, welcome to my bookshelf, and today I wanted to share with you guys all the books that I have recently hauled. So I've gotten these from a couple different places, one being Goodwill, which is pretty normal for me, and then the other is Half Price Books, which is kind of different for me. I haven't been there in a while, and of course had to get things while I was there, so I'm very excited about those. But I wanted to start with my Book of the Month pick. So Book of the Month is a monthly subscription box, and it's cool because you get to actually pick the book that is sent to you, so it's not a surprise, which to me is exciting because it just makes me feel good that you know what book you're gonna get. It's exciting. So they give you 5 books to choose from, you pick one, they send it to you. It's pretty great. And so far, the books that they've given as like options to choose from have all been at least somewhat interesting, even if they're not books that I personally would like I can tell they're just not books for me. They do sound like they'd be interesting to at least someone else, you know what I mean? So far I've really enjoyed the variety in the choices. So, that all being said, this is my second month of doing so this is my second pick, which is very different from the first book I picked. But let's just jump in. So, the book of the month that I chose is The Lost Equation of Isaac Severy by Nova Jacobs, a novel in clues, which, come on, how cool does that sound? At least to me, this is clearly a mystery, and it's about finding this lost equation, which I think is really cool. And so Isaac Severy is this mathematician, and he has given this equation to his adopted granddaughter. But the problem is that this granddaughter doesn't know where he's hidden it, and of course Isaac is no longer with us. So it's her trying to find this equation, and I'm assuming also trying to figure out what the importance of this equation is. I'm sure that's going to come up in here at some point as well. I just think it's a really interesting premise and a unique one at that too, so I'm intrigued, and this hits my nerdy sensibilities a bit, so I'm very excited about this one. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. I think the cover is pretty cool too. It's pretty straightforward, but kind of fun as well. I should also say that this is a debut novel, so this is Nova Jacobs' first book, so that's really exciting. But yeah, so this is my Book of the Month pick. I also wanted to show you the bookmark. So it seems to me that the bookmark is always going to have this on it. This is exactly how the front looked on the other one, but the back looks different. Last month it was like a design with snowflakes, and this one doesn't have a design, it just has a quote from my book. And it says, "In a mostly unstable life, books had been the only reliable refuge she had known." Which I think is a cool quote, and I think that as book lovers, we can all relate to that. So that's pretty cool. Alright, so let's just jump into the rest of the books in this haul. I'm going to start with my Goodwill picks. So the first of which is Little Bee by Chris Cleave. And I really don't know anything about the plot of this book, really, but what I like is that this book, on the back here, which I don't know if you can see that either, but on the back, it talks about how it doesn't really want you to know. It wants you to go in blind, which I think is really cool to encourage. So I'm going to read it. It says, "We don't want to tell you what happens in this book. It is a truly special story, and we don't want to spoil it. Nevertheless, you need to know enough to buy it, so we will just say this. This is the story of 2 women. Their lives collide one fateful day, and one of them has to make a terrible choice, the kind of choice we hope you never have to face. 2 years later, they meet again. The story starts there." So I think that's intriguing. It does make me interested in the story, and it seems to have a lot of praise for this book. It seems like people really do enjoy this book, and I know I've heard of this book before, so I'm hoping that means it is a good book and worthwhile. We shall see. And I just really love the cover of this book as well. I'll probably be saying that a lot throughout this haul. I really love covers, and this one I really like because it's a silhouette. I love silhouettes. So I think it's unique, and I think it's really interesting. Alright, so the next book that I hauled is actually nonfiction, and it's called Daring Greatly by Brene Brown, who is a licensed social worker. It's about the importance of vulnerability and how it can transform your life, love, parenting, etc. Just all these really important aspects of your life if you're willing and able to be vulnerable, which I think is a really, really cool message, and I'm really intrigued to see what the research shows and what she specifically means by vulnerability and how that looks in your real life and how this actually does help you for the good. Because obviously being vulnerable is a super scary thing, which is why she says the courage to be vulnerable, because it is a scary, scary thing. And ultimately, like, what I see vulnerability as is someone being authentic to themselves and presenting that to the world. Because to me, being authentically yourself is very scary, because you are leaving yourself open for criticism and for people to look down on you. And, it leaves you out in the open, and you don't have a security blanket, you know what I mean? Because you are being vulnerable. So to me, like, authenticity and vulnerability go hand in hand. So that's how I see vulnerability. It'll be really interesting to see if that's how Brene Brown talks about vulnerability, or what she's actually talking about. But I just think this is a really interesting concept, and I'm very intrigued. So I'm very excited to have it in my collection. And again, I really like this cover, even though it's very simple. I really love it. I mean, it just looks so cool. All right, the next book that I hauled is Rooms by Lauren Oliver. And I will say that I read Before I Fall last year, and admittedly, I had mixed feelings on it. I didn't really like it all that much, but I'm giving Lauren Oliver another chance. I am a bit apprehensive because I had a bad experience with another book of hers, but it was still an intriguing concept. And I am also intrigued by this concept as well, so I'm hoping the execution has characters I enjoy reading about more, because that was my main issue with Before I Fall. So Rooms is a ghost story, which I think is so cool. I don't think I've ever read a ghost story, so I'm very excited about that. And honestly, I don't really know anything about the specifics of this story. I get the sense that the ghosts are not supposed to like just be this like scary entity, that it's more about them as like real characters and real people, and not just like, ooh, scary ghost, you know what I mean? So I think that in and of itself is a really interesting concept, and something I'm very interested in reading about. All right, the next book that I hauled is If You Ask Me, and of course you won't, by Betty White. And this is clearly a memoir of hers, and I think at this point we all know who Betty White is. But if you don't know, she's an amazing actress. She's been in so many different things for such a long period of time as well. I mean, she did lots of acting when she was much younger as well, and she was beloved then, and she's still beloved now, and she just always seems really down to earth. So I think this will be a really interesting book to actually read. All right, the rest of these books are all books I got at Half Price Books, so I'm especially excited for them. And the first of which is Everything, Everything by Nicola Yoon. Everyone seems to talk about this book and love this book. But anyway, if you don't know, the premise of this story is that our main character is more or less allergic to everything, and so she's forced to stay in her house all the time. And so she feels very trapped and not able to really experience life as a normal teenager and just as a normal person. And of course, everything changes when a boy moves in next door. And so I think it's a love story as well, but I think it has a really interesting premise to it, which is why I'm excited about it, because I don't, romance is not really my thing, but I think in situations like this where it's about more than just a romance, I'm excited about it. All right, the next book that I hauled is also a book that I feel like everyone talks about and seems to love, and has also been turned into a movie, but it seems like a very different book. And that is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. It was illustrated by Jim Kay, which I should note because it has some amazing drawings in here as well. So I'll try to show you some. So here's one. This is like a full page one with the monster, but most of this book, when you flip through it, like sometimes there's drawings on the side of the page like this, but a lot of the times there's just text. So there's kind of a mixture as far as the illustrations go. But first off, I'm excited to have a book that isn't like specifically just like a kid's book that has pictures in it, because who doesn't love pictures? Like, I feel like that's like a missing part of so many books, is like the illustrations. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I like books that have something unique to it, and obviously having these pictures with it is a very unique thing. I literally only know that there's a monster in this book, and that there's a boy in this book, and that they meet, and I think they become friends, or at least allies, or something. I'm not really sure, but like I said, everyone seems to talk about it and rave about it, and it's won 2 awards, so clearly a good book. All right, the next book that I hauled is The 100 Lies of Lizzie Lovett by Chelsea Sidoti. And this is a book I haven't really heard anyone ever talk about before, but I think I found it on Goodreads originally, and it piqued my interest. First off, I will just say that I love the cover. I will just get that out of the way. Love it. But anyway, the premise sounds really interesting as well. So, our main character finds out about the disappearance of this girl named Lizzie. Our main character comes up with a theory of what happened to her and, why she disappeared and all of that. And it's kind of just like, it starts off as like just something for her to think about, I think. But then it's like I think she starts to believe her theory a little bit. And so she starts to actually try to investigate to actually see if her theory checks out and to see if what she, believes happened actually did. And so she starts to like insert herself into like Lizzie's life and I guess to try to investigate it and things like that. I just think it sounds so interesting. Like, to me, it sounds like some normal everyday person becoming like a detective and like going into this like interesting adventure. I feel like it's something that I would love to do, but I would never have the courage to actually do. And so I like the fact that we can kind of live this experience through our main character. It just sounds like an interesting premise. I mean, that's all I know about it, and that could be wrong. Who knows? But it sounds intriguing, at least on some levels. So I'm excited for this book, even if other people haven't really talked about this book. All right, the next book that I hauled, I'm not sure how well known this book series is because it is a book that I've read back in middle school, and it was something that I really, really enjoyed. But I've never, ever had anyone else ever talk about this book series, so I have no idea how popular it was. But it did get, like, the edition I have is actually a newer edition, so it's been like republished, if you will. So that to me suggests that it must have been somewhat popular. So maybe you guys have heard of it. You can let me know. But I was just like, I found this at Half Price Books, and I was like, wait, what? I was just so excited because I haven't thought about this book series in a long time, and I just think I'm just really excited about it. So without further ado, the book is Fearless by Francine Pascal. Like I said, it was republished. Now, originally, there was like, I don't even know, there were more than 20 books in this series. Like, it was a huge series, and I never actually finished them, I don't think, to be honest. There was a lot. So these new editions have combined 3 books into one, so it's a little less intense. So this book I have right here has the first 3. Which were Fearless, Sam, and Run. Our main character, Gaia Moore, she is literally fearless because she was born without the fear gene. And on top of that, like, she's been trained in martial arts. She has these quick reflexes. She's very smart. She can break codes. Like, she's just really intelligent and really strong and just an amazing badass chick. You know what I mean? So she's a great protagonist. But she also, of course, wants to live a more normal life. But of course, she's kind of forced into the chaos that her life brings, especially when people find out that she doesn't have a fear gene and they want to exploit her. And so she's kind of on the run from them and trying to deal with all of that. So that's kind of the basic premise of the story, and it kind of goes from there. I remember really, really loving this series, which is why I read so many of these books. But I read this in middle school, so I am very nervous about the quality of the book and the writing. I don't know if it's actually good or not, but I really, really want to reread it and see if it holds up because I'm really nervous that it's not. But I think it's a really interesting premise, so I'm holding out that this is at least intriguing, even if it's not the best book in the world, or like the best, like, well-written book, you know what I mean? So we'll see. I'm apprehensive, but I am excited because this is very nostalgic for me. All right, and the last 2 books that I picked up this month are both a part of a series, and so I'll just quickly go over them because at this point I'm sure that you've heard of this series and you know about them, so I just wanted to share with you guys I got more books in the series. So the first of which is Artemis Fowl: The Time Paradox by Ian Colfer. And then I also got Career of Evil by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. So this is part of the Cormoran Strike series, which is like a detective murder mystery series. And I read the first one last year and I really enjoyed it. It was really good. I really did thoroughly enjoy it. And so I'm excited to continue on in this series. And then Artemis Fowl, it's originally meant for like middle schoolers, I believe. But I'm pretty sure the character starts aging as well, so he's going to become older and older, because at the first book he was 12. In the next book I know he's already 13, so I'm assuming he's going to like continue to get older and older, so it'll be more like straight up YA and not like middle schoolish. So I'm intrigued by that. This is like the 6th book in the series, and also I know there's at least one other book after this one even, because I saw it at Half Price Books, but it had the new covers because it's been republished with like a cartoon version looking of Artemis on the covers, which I'm not sure how I feel about. So because I've been getting the old editions, I figure I might as well just keep on going. So I didn't get the other book. But there's at least like another book on top of this. Like I don't even know how many books there are in this series. Maybe they're still coming out. Like I don't even know, to be honest. I've started the series and I've started investing in it, so I'm hoping that it's going to continue to be an enjoyable read. Alright, so there you have it. Those are all the books that I have recently hauled. Please let me know what you think, and as always, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching this video, and until next time.